Since day 570 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. If you'd like to sponsor a coming share or more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. It'd be very greatly appreciated. Today we're doing Shin Lamed Vav still. You test to Kaf Ches. You test. It's not Be'ervin. Shoshav Goyim in Arts, Shoshav Tachim, Reishav Aleim. If the roots are more to be talking about the ground, should not sit on them. Rashi Masha, Rashi sounds like it's going on ancient. Prohibition is they might cut out the branches. Therefore, the branches start right near the ground. The prohibition is not all of it. But the branches start high up on the tree. Then more than 3 talking from the root. Also, the shtamish not allowed to use the upachas being mutter. If it's lower than that, it's permissible ayin sham. Well, it sounds kind of strange. And we know some avoid the hakibrush. This means going to be tzadi ilan yotzei shosh mosa ilan. Next to the tree, another root comes out of that tree. Kamosh matziv ilan is kind of like it's found with old trees. If it's 3 tvachim high, it's like the tree itself. Pachas mizev, it's less. Kekar l'shiva, it's considered like the ground. Al b'shoy shelo that's small, but the root itself, yochlios the perush zeh. That's shamish gamba pachas mishlosh tvachim. If it's the actual root of the old tree, be also even less than 3 tvachim on the ground. Milu perish Rashi mutar exchange enough. According to Rashi, it's okay if there are no branches there. Kalchi kruv gankin kishvashe ilan. The stalks of a cabbage are also like the roots of a tree. Being goyim shlosh tvachim in the arts, the more than 3 tvachim of the ground. Also, shtamish better not allowed to use them. Or Baalim Shlem, or their leaves. The Sharatzin says, okay, there's no argument here. Mishmur says, as long as the fruit, in any event, you have to be careful not to use it, you shouldn't use it. Hishlik story says not to use it because you might pluck the fruit. Also, the vegetables are suitable to eat. Even if it's less than 3 tvachim on the ground, you shouldn't use it. And the Sharatzin is not sure whether to answer by a soft reed or branch. Actually, then because the issues maybe you're going to cut it and it's going to break even less than 3 tvachim. Bottom line is, if you have a stump mamish and nothing's growing, then if it's less than 3 tvachim from the ground, it's for sure okay. It's not considered to be a tree. A stump even higher than 3 tvachim may be okay, as we learned in the previous sif. But when they're branches, then the whole thing is very confusing, and you should not use it. Anyway, it's a very rare situation. If the roots are coming up 3 tvachim more than 3 tvachim the ground, because in the part of the mountain Mishoshes, then they bend down to the lower than 3 tvachim. Shivayim ilav yardim matzah, they go up, they come up and go down. Makom shekavayim mashlosha, so in the place where they're more than 3 tvachim above the ground. So let's use them. Makom shekavayim shlosha, but if they're not more than 3 tvachim high, mutar allowed to use them. Shekavayim shlosha shvachim. If they're 3 tvachim high, rakshi b'tzad echad shavel aretz, but on one side it's that's if you look on from one side, but the other side it's on a slope or something. It's less than 3 tvachim. Then the other side is Shavel Aretz. Shebezeh Hatzad offer Gavot because the dirt is high on that side. Other Shtamish Shefil Tzad Shavel Aretz can't use even that side. It became in the Shosh Chased Gavot Shlosh Tzad sits on 3 sides. It's more to be found. But outside of Shlosh Tzad, this side is negated to the 3 prohibited sides. And Mishnei Tzad Gavot Shlosh Tzad, but on 2 sides it's 3 tvachim high. Mishnei Tzad on 2 sides Shavel Aretz it's equal to the ground. Mutter. On those 2 sides, which are equal to the ground. Even if it's all smooth to the ground. But underneath it, there is a cavity, 3 tvachim in the ground. It also has the din of a tree. It doesn't matter if the cavity is above the ground or below the ground. You're not studying Gake. In terms of size also, about 3 sides is a cavity. One side is no cavity. Also, Gam Shem is also on that side as well. Shtei Ruchos Mutzah, if it's only on 2 sides, it's permissible Kamosh Kosavnu. Chaf Mutzah Lecha Gabi Asam B'Shabbos. You're allowed to walk on grasses on Shabbos. The logo through rock below. The only problem is using a tree. So you're not considering maybe while you're walking going to uproot one of the grasses. It's not necessary that they're going to get severed. So even if you do get severed, have a double chain miskaben, so which you didn't intend to do. For sure, there's no, and it's permissible. Ein chiluk ben olech ben savim arukim uksum. Doesn't matter the grasses are long or short. Or ben olech min al olech if you're going with a shoe on or barefoot. Ben olech kadak olech mutzah whether you're going walking normally or running. This is the Mishnah Berurah says, if you found that after you walked, you found their grass is sticking to your legs, whether that's between your toes or on your shoes, so don't remove them with your hand because they're muksa. Interesting point. I saw somebody who's machmish somebody telling him not to run and when the grass is tall. And this Reisi Mishmachmir evidently is the Mishnah Berurah. And I lost track already. Time 45, 46, where he's mentioned Mishnah Berurah. But he doesn't mention his name by name. But you shouldn't be mechadish prohibitions on our own. The came to Chazal Mud Lo Have Psikration. Chazal said it's not Psikration. Pchana Lo Have Psikration. It's not Psikration no matter how you're going and what the grass is like. And the census testify this. And it really does quote him by name. Obir halacha. Evidently that this is a chiddush of the Mishnah Berurah in the Bir Halacha based on something which is a smag. But he says that the thing of the smag is the dover temuah. We're not responsible for this. So Chav Mishnah Arukh HaShulchan is clearly lenient in this case in the Mishnah Berurah's machmir. But to pour water on grass, that's the Torah prohibition. Because then they're going to grow. Have a tolad, it's a derivative of planting. The Mishnah Berurah says also of plowing, because you loosen the ground by the moisture. Sharasin says, according to this, you have to be careful also by ground which is not planted. If it's ground which, however, is intended to be plowed at some point, this is plowing. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. The mashka mayim is chayiv if you give water to seeds, you are chayiv. L'chein also hashomrim beginos. There for those people who are watching gardens, you should make sure not to wash your hands on the grasses. Therefore, don't eat on Shabbos Yom time out of sun because then you have to watch on the grasses, and that's not good. We said the rice is a prohibition on even though they don't have it in mind. The opposite because it's inevitably going to cause the grass to grow. Maybe we'll say it's psikresh lo nichole. You're not there are different opinions whether that's mutar or aser. Moshkosavnu k'besimulation base. For me, man lo nichole. Besides, who says it's not nichole? Maybe it is nichole. It's because that grass is going to grow. Bush Hartun says an interesting thing. He says, but if it's your friend's yard, where it's actually not interested necessarily in growing, so in that case, you can say that you don't have to be machmir, because for sure, because you couldn't care less. Although it's more of a the Mishnah seems to say that's lo nicholei, maybe it's also it's not psikration. I'm not sure to what extent Mishnah Berurah goes, but he's saying in another friend's in another yard for which you're not responsible, it might be permissible. Anyway, be as it may, back to Arukh HaShulchan, ma'od. It'd be very much so. Mutatil b'yamayim, be allowed to urinate, or shamash shem atzichin, or spill any other liquids that don't cause things to grow. According to Mishnah Berurah, who said there's an issue of choresh, there would still be a problem because you're loosening the ground. So obviously it'd have to be a ground which normally plow, not your backyard, when you don't usually plow. But it's also good to refrain from other liquids. How do you know they don't cause growth? The Mishnah Berurah says that if you're pouring strong wine, it's not a problem. But on the other hand, Prima Garim says that honey water and beer have water and they are a problem. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. גם מהרגליים יש מי שכוסף שעכשיו אומרים שעל פי ניסיון לתומם לזיבול הקרקע. He says, brings an interesting from the Pharisees Yisrael on the Mishnayos, that today they say that urine is good to fertilize the ground. Miralacha says the oil is not noyik to be nizar on this, and that it seems that the first Mega Shabbos that the Pharisees Yisrael is not correct about this, but the Arukh HaShulchan seems to be more not sure about it. You know, Lamaisa though, be careful not to eat in gardens. It's very difficult to refrain from having some water close on the ground when you're eating there. Panisa was there, and somebody was forget about this. Schools have Shabbos, yoga, no love. American Shabbos will protect it. Mishnah Berurah says, the Taz says that it's a garden which has more than 70 amos, it's a carmelist, and it's not mukaf ladira. Anyway, you have to be nizar. The Taz on 4 amos. I guess it's a which is a car path where people don't normally walk, because it wouldn't apply to a public park, obviously, which is a place where people normally go. You should not toss seeds in a place where rain will fall. Because then they're eventually going to grow. So Mishnah Berurah clarifies, not where it's going to rain tomorrow, but where now it's moist because of rain, which comes down there regularly, and any other place which is moist for that matter. If you send throwing seeds out to chickens, should only send out the amount that they're going to eat on that day. Or for 2 days. That's when Yom Shishi, because the growth starts on the 3rd day. And then Jesus like the other, but if you throw the seeds in a place where people step, that's okay. If you ain't so because they're not going to grow. So if you have a clump of dirt on which grass grew, or or grasses grew on the handle of a vessel because it's a moist vessel, they're considered as if they're connected to the ground. That's they're connected to the keli. And you pluck them off, it's kotzer, like he wrote previously. It's not like a non-perforated pot. The pot min Torah where you're exempt with the raisa. Interesting look. There, the derech zvia is when people. It's only derech zvia if people planted that way, and here people planted it in a people planted a non-perforated pot. But here they grow on their own, so this becomes the natural environment. Grasses which you put in the dirt before Shabbos. They should be moist. And hold them by the leaves and pull them out. Even though dirt falls from them, outside it's indirect carrying. For purpose, some which is permitted. And therefore it's permissible. So if they didn't take roots, and also when you put them down, you didn't have a mind to plant them, but only to preserve them. If you had a mind to plant them, also it's forbidden. Regardless, even to pluck from a non-perforated pot. Mr. Berurah says, even if you're perforated, this non-perforated pot is in your 2nd floor in your house, you can't pluck from it, which seems to be the push it. May the keli no matter what the vessel is. Mostly told take non-perforated pot from the ground. Gabi said to put it on a stand, or vice versa. Take it from the stand. Gabi put it on the ground. Whether the pot is made out of wood or pottery. But time for beyond the CBS time we explained that Chamehem gam enonaku dinu kanoku v'inakam dvarim ayin sham. That one of them is even one of them, we don't know which one, even though it's not perforated, it's perforated for several purposes. But if you have a tree, a branch of a tree which got cut off, it's plucked off the tree already. Well, person has fruit growing on it. The fruit is no longer considered connected to the tree. In fact, the branch doesn't disallow you plucking them from Shabbos. The conclusion in there as if they are severed from the branch even though they're not. V'dafka is also delicious because it's only from the tree itself you're not allowed to pluck the fruit. To have mechatek, that's cutting. Aperes in them shaychos la'anaf. But there's no sense of connection to the branch if it's no longer connected to the tree. We eat grapes and several other types of berries, which are they're on small stems, and we still pluck them off the stems. Right? For grapes, it's obvious. It's also not extracting. It's only when you are removing things from stalks, or nuts from their green peels, where the fruit is inside them. It's not the same thing where the fruit is hanging from the branch of the vine. There are two different things. Brackets, he says here, we're talking about Tassim all right, we don't know what the Taz is referring to, so it's not going to any good. The a pipe which is dripping water from the roof, in which there are now pieces of straw and grasses. The there's plugging up the pipe, and preventing it from flowing. And as a result, the water is backing up onto the roof and dripping the house. You can crush them with your foot in secret. He says, Mishabur says in Muri that it's only to crush them, to stomp on them, and not to smush them this way and that way, even with your foot. That would be awesome. The came of the Shatina de Shinoi says, since you're fixing them by Shinoi, was talking about you're not using your hands, but your legs, your feet. You tell Rabbanah Makuser, Rabbanah allows in places going to be a loss. There's no chashash machdaraisa, since it's because of Shinoi. It's only fixing me Rabbanah. It's not the raisa because it's just not the raisa to remove the stuff. Not because of Shinoi. Every place where it's a loss, they didn't make a gzera. If there's no loss, it's not going to trip his house. Also, it's forbidden. Back above those, it's called over also Mishmar sign. I think I should have done also. I didn't say anything which is also because Marasai is also even to do in private. There's a Torah prohibition. So now we're saying where it's doing rabbinic prohibition. Chavav came to Gazin Shema Yalevi. Closest we're afraid you might go up a tree and pluck off something. Therefore, any fruit which is meant to be eaten. Tov and has a good fragrance. Also, you're not allowed to smell it when it's still on the tree. Because you might come to pluck it off and eat it. Or you're not bite it with your mouth. The Ganzavi toast, it's also considered to be plucking off. So tell Omar, some people want to say the Mashiach Bepiv, Amos is the rights of the Rabbana. I say if you cut off with your teeth, it's not this is the rights only the Rabbana machine, and their police because it's not a normal way of plucking stuff. Shaitzim writes this as well. Velina writes that Lisha Midoraisa, but the Arukh HaShulchan does not like this. He says it is Lisha Midoraisa, so they're Achila Bakach. You're eating it, so it's Derech Achila. But Lisha Mela, in fact, you're plucking it is automatic, but it's Derech Achila, and therefore Lisha is also part and parcel of the Achila, and it'll be the Raisa. And it brings down here the brackets going to Shoyis, that's the Nidchak and Shop, the Kama Avaryonim Nitlu Bazeh. Some of the sinners, the criminals, assume that this case is not considered to be Derech Lisha. Then the probably Shum Safek Sveka. It's without any doubts. That if you eat directly from Mechubor, it's Ab Malacha, by Menachos, that Ayin, Yeshchal, Gedavka, Bekochim, Duk, whatever that means. He says, bottom line, you can't eat something directly off a tree. But they said Aldas allowed to smell it. Because it's only made to smell and not to eat. For the smell, it's better when it's still attached. The smell is more fragrant. Because therefore not afraid you're going to come to pluck it. But an esrog or an apple, Also, riach, but mechumim allowed to smell them when they're still connected to the tree. They came though the achil since they're designated for eating. Chashin shem yakutu, so afraid maybe you'll pluck it off in the shem befiv, or bite it with your mouth or to eat it. Chavches, kvar kosvu diver Rambam, kosam diver Rambam. B'si beish, b'asik da ashor achiti musarim chalitz mayim. If you soak wheat and barley in water, have it close the rest of the derivative of zarev chai b'koshin yechai, no matter how small the seeds. Chein kosvu Rabbeinu says if you out. Pashu the mayim shnos l'mayim shishu shom kam yamin. It's how you see when you put in the water that should stay there several days. Chein mashu l'shor, that's the idea of soaking. If you put a seed of sesame or flax into water, because the lash because it's a rare home is since they get mixed up and cling to each other. Because Rabbi says the same, no same, and they were meticulous to say no same. Having the sina ba'alma. When you're ready to put them in, and they should take them to the doctor because they started hearing to each other. That doesn't apply to wheat and barley. But to say you're chai because it's a rare, like we do want to say wheat and barley, but that's so that's because 7 days she's mechuzarim that the seeds should sprout. That's it says hashoreh, means they're there for a while. But if you put a meat into water for meat for animals to eat, there's no problem by wheat and barley. Brackets say after shopping mashim shoram is v'chim sham shami hachi chiti sorry nami the mashal hedge the potter I am again must go to base but goes to the base those the actual thinking comes there pitching sky time should be like because the two mishum lush is rare because of needing and planting and shami should to them as came to my sham is rare those say it's not talking about it's a planted there I am khayram nishmas adam klal but they're mavur. So whatever they're saying, it's difficult to say, and obviously clear differences between shoreh and nosei. So now, shishapet doesn't zorich levisha in a chay rak mishum lisha. You're tossing them for a moment. You can't be chay mishum zoreh, or a moment or an hour, whatever. It's not zoreh. It only can be chay because of lush.